Welcome to Crypto BS. I'm Al.
And I'm the only person keeping Al sane over the last 7 days.
That is not true. But you're helping a lot.
That is absolutely true. Actually, I tell you what, if anything, I've tried to keep you sane, but you've been on the brink of collapse for a while now.
I got to tell you, my sushi short, it was pretty close.
Wrong.
It was closer than that?
No, I'm just saying it was wrong. Your sushi call was wrong.
The sushi call was not a great call.
We need a soundbite that Donald Trump wrong.
Well, I got danger close to getting liquidated on that one.
And this is part of the, swing small, hit small versus swing big, hit big. I mean, if I recall, you got into sushi on the short and then went in further and then got in further and then got in further again. And that's some dangerous plays. Now it worked out for you. But if it wouldn't have worked out, when you got danger close to being liquidated, how much would you have lost in that liquidation? How much is in the margin account?
I would have been down $1,700.
Yikes.
Yeah.
And see, this is part of what I was talking about where, I'm not putting all my money in my margin account because things go south sometimes.
Well,
and we've both been there before. We've been liquidated before outside of the challenge.
Oh yeah. Well, the other thing is that at this point we're rolling into week 19 of the challenge, so that'll be 1,900 that we'll have in as of today. Mm-hmm. The only amount that I have in the margin is about $450 of money that I put into it. I've built it from 450 up to that 1,700, and even still, I was up an additional 200 that I moved over to buy more in the spot account. So, I mean, the most I'd been down 450 of the total amount that I put in. So it wouldn't have been a devastating hit of.
But as compared to your standings last week, it would have been a big dent in the progress.
It would have completely destroyed my my current.
Now, Al made it out alive on his sushi short through scaling in, even though it got dangerously close. But he was not the only one to miss a trade this week, as I ended up taking a loss this morning on my B&B short. And I don't know, do we want to get into that right now?
Or? I mean, we can. Well, let's back up. Let's talk about the challenge for any new listeners.
Yes.
So Craig and I have a weekly challenge. We allocate $100 to our trading account, our challenge account, and the intent is to grow that to $100,000 at $100 a week. So it's something that's manageable. It's to show that it can be done, that you don't have to start in the crypto with an exorbitant amount of money, and you don't have to try to 10x it or 100x it overnight either. Some of it's slow going at times, but it can be grown. And the rules of the challenge are that we have to allocate that $100 each week. We can do what we'd like. We can hold it. We can trade it. We can margin. We can short. We can do whatever we'd like with it as long as that money is allocated to crypto for the week, and it's up to us on what we do with it. And Craig allocated his money to BNB.
Yes. So I actually was going to make this a call on last week's episode, and I'm glad I didn't because, if anybody would have went in on it with me, I would have been kind of sad. But my call was BNB shorted at 300, and I saw it hit 300, and of course I think be patient. Let's look for some sort of sign of reversal like we've had issues with in the past. I saw a wick coming down off of it, and I said, now is the time. But I forgot one pivotal part of the strategy because I did check the 3 RSIs, and they were all above 70. I did look at the previous resistance, and it was at that 300. It hit it twice before, and this was the third time bouncing off of it.
Wait a minute. Is this something that you may have mentioned in last week's show that you should do?
It is something that I said last week, and I didn't do it. And I think it's time to add this into the list of rules. This is a surprise 9 rules for trading crypto
goes completely away from the 8 simple rules. Now it's 9. Now it's complicated
now
rules.
It's 9. Now it's complicated. And the rule that needs to be added is check the news. Just make sure there's not a reason that it's moving the way that it's moving. And what got me on BNB was its involvement in Twitter with Elon Musk. And of course, just like I said last week, that I don't want to be involved with Doge because it's the weird cult following and you never know exactly what it's supposed to do. It doesn't act normally. You just brought that same mojo into BNB and I didn't know it. And boy, that thing took off like a rocket, didn't it?
It did, and even today it's still up. It's around 3:30 right now at the time of the recording. I find it very odd that it has maintained the amount of strength that it has up to this point.
Well, what I find even more odd is that even up at 300, we're looking at 70 plus RSI on the day, on the 4 hour, on the 1 hour, even on the 15 minute. And then it goes up and up, and it's sustaining that. Even on the day candlesticks, it's sustaining a 70 plus RSI even today. And it really makes me feel like it should pull back. But like I said, weird things happen when you get that outside group of non-traditional traders that are big on Doge, that are big on, Elon Musk stuff. And I don't want to be a part of it. So today I exited the trade. I took a pretty decent hit of $80 on the challenge money. Now, luckily, I'd hit a couple other small shorts like I've been doing. So I broke even on the week. I'm positive 300, and I'm going to keep aiming to just hit a couple $20, $30, $40 shorts throughout the week and just slowly build this account up until I can make bigger swings.
Well, I too went in on BNB, but I got in a lot later. So you were well past your entry before I got in. I got in a lot closer to that 320 and then again at 330. I also exited yesterday afternoon, and I went back in again this morning and got back in about 332. So I'm still looking for it to pull back. I think it's going to come back down. And it's not that I don't believe in Binance or I don't believe in BNB. I just think that short term there's going to be a pullback. As a matter of fact, I've got BNB in the trading account, the spot account that I've got as my long-term holdings that I'm using to kind of DCA in. And again, I believe in the product and I believe in CZ and what he's been doing with it. I just think that this is just that short-term, there's a lot of news on it and it ran up, because I really don't believe that Binance is going to have that much impact on Twitter.
Me either. But is that a call of the week for you, shorting Binance up at 330?
Yes, I would take that as, if it's still around 330 now and it pulls back down and I can get out at 315 or 320 and it runs back up to 330, I'd get back into it again. And if somebody else saw that as an opportunity, Craig and I are not financial advisors, but if you did your own research and determined that this was a good place to get in, I think it's a good place and a good pullback. But there's been a lot of activity in the regular stock market with their third quarter earnings. You've got the Twitter stuff that's going on. Meta has reported, Apple's reported. Everything got rocked yesterday with the FOMC meeting, and both markets have been very volatile. And as these other traditional assets are pulling back in the tech sector, I think that we're going to see a pullback here as well.
Yeah, I mean, everything on BNB shows me that it should pull back, but I don't want to be in it. Like I said, when you get into that crowd of retail investors, things get wacky. I don't touch Doge. I don't touch Shiba. I don't touch now BNB because things just get weird. And yeah, so again, I'm going to keep looking for my signals on what I should do. Right now, sushi's looking really good. I just entered a short on that. And we'll just keep seeing how it plays out through the week.
Yeah, sushi's pretty high. It's well into the 170 range right now, and all the metrics on it look pretty hot. Now, they did have some news that came out also, which is the same trap you fell into is the same one I fell into. And when we talked about it later in the week, last weekend, that was it. Craig asked, "Hey, what was your error on getting into that?" I didn't check the news. It was the same thing, but the news didn't break until after I was already in it. So the news came out several hours after I got into it, where sushi started really running up. What I should have done was at that point check to see what the news was and then exited instead of just trying to hold through it. I tried to fight the news.
Yeah, it's tough once you're in the trade and you feel very convinced about it, just like I did with B&B. It's tough to get out of the trade because you start finding ways to try to justify your position, or you try to find ways to better your position. Like, for example, like with B&B, it's like, okay, I found out why it pumped up and I'm in the negative and I'm trying to figure out at what point do I get out of this thing. And it wasn't I'll take a 5-10% hit and get out. It was, okay, I'll just scale in. Whatever. No big deal. It'll hit a resistance. I'll find a point to scale in. And so it finds some resistance in the high teens. It's like 318, 319, wavering up and down. I say, okay, I'll get in here. Well, I do that, and then it keeps going up, right? And again, now you're in a position where you have even more into the short, and you're going more negative at a faster rate, and you just say, you know, what do you even do? Like, do I just take the even bigger hit? Should I have taken the L earlier? And I think when you make a mistake like that, and there is no clear and obvious top, just like I've talked about in the past before, like if I don't see a clear support, I'm not buying into anything. Right? If I can't see that we're near a support level, like when Cake broke down and I had no idea how low it could go. It's the same thing on this upside with B&B. Is like the next line wasn't up until like the mid threes. And when that 300 broke, I should have got out of Dodge, man. I really should have. It broke the resistance. The pattern had broke. That's a rule.
Yep.
Yeah, so that's a rule I didn't follow. But the pattern broke. There was news that I didn't look into. And I should have just taken the L. And if I would have done that, I would have lost much less money than what I ended up taking later on. And I had to play that short a couple times of buying and selling to try to get my average cost higher so that when I did exit, it was only an $80 hit. At one point, I was over 200 on it. And I could have got out at like 30, 40 bucks if I would have just said, oh, there was news that I didn't see. The resistance is broke. Let's get out and see what happens. Because then I could have gotten back in the 330s, hit the short down to, I got out yesterday at like 317 and taken a big win. But, of course not. Lesson learned.
It's funny that both of us had the same problem on two different assets in the same week.
Yeah.
The same problem. And we did the same. Our reactions were the same because I did the same thing with sushi. I went in and out of it, shorted a couple more times, got back out of it to bring that average down. And then once it finally did break, I actually did fairly well on it after that. But I was puckered. I mean, at one point I was down $600-700, and that was danger close.
So technically, wouldn't have you been down more than that at one point if you were close to getting liquidated?
It should have been pretty close. I mean, I don't know. I just remember thinking, this is bad. That's when I did say, because it went up higher than that, overnight. I should have got out of it.
Exactly. So I think this touches on multiple rules. One, when the pattern breaks, exit, right? And we did not follow that. Our new rule number 9 of check the dang news. It sounds like you did check the news.
I did.
I would probably check multiple times, right? I'd probably check when I'm entering the trade and maybe a couple hours after to see if something else came out. But check the news has to happen. And then the know your limits, which I've said in the past, knowing your limit's not the same as always setting a limit. And I was convinced on B&B at 300, and so I didn't put the limit. But when your faith starts to waver, like mine did after learning, oh shoot, it's involved with Twitter or there's some sort of relationship going on there. When my faith starts to waver, there needs to be a limit set, and I didn't follow that rule either. So that's the lessons learned here is, when things start to look bad, you can play them a little bit, but sometimes there's things you just need to get out.
Yeah, whenever the news broke with with sushi and their new DAOs or whatever else they got going on. Didn't seem like that big of a deal to me. But I only went and looked at it when I saw sushi run up 10% in 40 seconds. I mean, it was a face melter. Normally, it wouldn't be that big of a deal. If you were long in it, you're like, oh, man, I really caught that.
Oh, yeah.
Didn't happen for me on this one. That's pretty good little lessons learned for both of us on, reviewing our trades. And maybe that's something else that the listeners should look at also is when you miss your trades, what were the causes? What did you do and what you should have done? Mm-hmm. And we've got, because you and I work closely together, we've got time and throughout the day to talk through it and hold each other accountable for that. But that's pretty wild. So for the challenge update, where are you at exactly?
I'm up about 305 total, and I'm looking for more shorts on sushi and things that are looking a little overheated. And it's worth noting that really all of that 305 has happened, in the last 3 weeks?
Yeah, once you went from
the bot.
From the DCAing with your bot and went to a little more aggressive stance.
Yeah, I think, and we talked about this last week, where if we had somebody that it was their first week in the challenge, what would we recommend? And that was a lesson learned between the contrast between the two of us. Mm-hmm. Was, I mean, if you're going to be putting in $100 every week, you might as well risk the first few $100 on margin trading and trying to accelerate that growth. And that was not what I did. And the reason for not doing it was that, the fear of liquidation. I don't have a lot to average in, so if things go south, it's just hits. In the grand scheme of things, hitting a few $100 loss over, you're going to be putting in $5,200 a year. It's not even 10% if you lose the first 3 weeks. But I think definitely now that we're getting towards the half-year mark on this, I think the margins are still a play, but definitely not using. I wouldn't even bother with half the account. Like you said, a lot of your margin account is your profits, mm-hmm. and I think that makes sense. After you get to a certain point, it's don't risk the money you're putting in. Play with the house money.
That's exactly right.
Because you get into a situation where you almost get liquidated,
mm-hmm.
and if you're playing with fire, you're playing with everything. You're starting over, and that hurts.
So right now in the trading account, my spot account, it's got about $1,400 in there. And again, just now today we'll have $1,900 total. So I've had a little over $400 that I've been using in the margin trading to get it up to a little over $1,700. So for me right now, total, I'm up a little over $1,100. But what I've started doing, my plan has been to try to keep the margin account and the trading account somewhat even. So I'm trying to funnel money that I'm making on the margin, basically my wins, over to the trading account. In that trading account is kind of what I'm using to DCA in with. I hold Gary from our very first day when we had a bet on Gary versus Burger.
Why don't you just sell out of that?
I mean,
do you like the reminder of how you lost to me?
It is a reminder to me to never let that happen again. So I've still got a little bit of Gary, and again we put in $10 a piece, so it's not a major holding, but I've got AVAX, ETH, Matic, Cardona, BNB, Link, and Near. Those are the ones I'm kind of using as my baseline. I really like Matic right now, and there's been some pretty good news that's come out on Matic in the last couple of weeks. They're into a little bit of everything, whether it's into NFTs, into gaming. They're really growing, and there's a lot more usage in the last. I don't remember whatever it said. I think the news that came out with Matic on usage that they're at their new all-time high, 6 million individual accounts or whatever it was. But there's a lot more usage with it. So I'm really encouraged by their ability to scale and how much usage they're seeing throughout the crypto world. I like Cardano. I think they've got places to go. My real big layer one is ETH, of course, and I like Avalanche, which is my other one, and Near. So those, I guess, I've got three true layer ones there that kind of what I'm basing my holdings around. I'm just going to kind of build from there. I am looking at adding a little bit of Aptos. We talked about that last week. That again is another layer one. It's just now entering the market. Craig got into, was it Ton that you were looking at last week?
Yeah, Ton, TON.
So those are two new layer ones. I like seeing those come in during the bear market. I'm not going to overload into them, but in my personal account, I already own a little bit of Aptos, and I was looking for it to come back down in the $7 range, and it is there now. So that will be one that I'm going to add in, and that'll probably be my next one that I add to the trading account. Going forward, though, in there, I'm really looking to add to my Near and Matic and trying to increase my holdings there. So that's what I'm going to try to do. And again, those are ones that I can go in and stake with, and trying to not really double down with it, but earn an extra 5 to 10% on those assets is a benefit. So with that Ton, I'm not super familiar with it, but I know that on Huobi, there's like a 300% interest that they're doing on that, 300% staking deal that they've got going on Huobi, which I don't use Huobi. I don't think you do either.
Never even heard of it.
Okay. So, yeah, I don't know if we can get that. I haven't seen that on KuCoin though either.
What?
The ability to stake Ton.
I'll look into it while you get into the news.
Ooh, news. So, world news, some things that will affect us or have affected us. China, they've been going back and forth. Looks like they are putting together a committee for reopening their economy. Man, this really affected the traditional market on Tuesday. We saw a big spike because that's positive news. Looks like they're going to try to open their economy back up. That bled over into the crypto market, so we had a pretty good run up on Tuesday. Going forward, there's going to be some impact on inflation and oil prices, so just kind of keep an eye on this. If it gets to the point where they are announcing that they're fully opened, that there's definitely going to be some positive inflation data that's going to come out from that. But with oil prices the way they are, because they're opening back up, they're going to be driving more trucks, they're going to be moving more often throughout the cities. It's also going to probably have an increase in those oil prices, which here in the United States, with our gas prices, have been low leading up to the election. After the election, those will also increase, and we don't want to see that combined with with China consuming more oil as well. The other things that have been out there, Meta news. So Meta got wrecked on the stock market. Zuck has spent $8 billion on the metaverse and doesn't have really anything to show for it. So does that impact any decisions for you, Craig? Are you interested in getting into Meta or any metaverse tokens or anything that has to do with Facebook?
Not really. No. I don't see the major crossover between that and crypto. I just don't. Like, I get it, metaverse, virtual, cryptocurrency, digital currency, this and that. Okay. Like, I just feel like cryptocurrency is so much broader and has so many more uses than just the metaverse that, like, okay, he spent a bunch of money on the metaverse and nothing's really came from that yet. But I just don't care.
Okay. That does surprise me a little bit, being that you're pretty big into the VR and Oculus and some of the gaming elements of virtual reality world. But would you not use that, or you don't see any way for those tokens, for them to tokenize it, to monetize that, or for it to be effective at this point? I mean, you don't see.
I mean, all they're gonna do with it is anything else you could already do with crypto and gaming as far as like VR stuff goes. I mean, there's plenty of games that have tokens that you can earn for participating, and not even in games. I mean, we see it in, what's that Steppen thing? GMT.
Yeah.
I mean, there's uses for rewarding doing activities and playing games in cryptocurrency already. Doing it in a VR space is just another way.
Another avenue for very little utilization, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. Like you said, I'm huge into VR. I love it. I think it's amazing, but I don't see it being widespread, wide use. I mean, not to the extent of like how Facebook is used, or even how regular video games are used, or I mean, it's going to be a piece of entertainment. I just don't think it's going to be the next big thing. I'm just not a believer.
Okay. Twitter. Now, we're all aware that Elon closed the deal with Twitter, fired a bunch of CEOs, and
he brought a sink with him.
He brought a sink, yep. He posted a picture of his dog that looks like the Doge dog, and I don't know. Any impact for you with this? Make you want to get into Doge? Any meme coins or anything like that?
I've already said I want nothing to do with it. I don't like coins that don't just follow normal logic. When there's like that fan following behind them, leave me out.
Well, he's saying that it's going to cost $8 a month to have your blue check mark on Twitter.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't know enough about it really. We do have our Crypto BS Twitter account, but I don't know if he's going to make it where you have to be verified, or you get deleted off there, or you have to pay $8 a month or you can't use it. I'm not sure exactly how that works.
I doubt that. I think it's going to be solely for the verified blue check mark, just to eliminate the amount of bots that are on the platform. And you could have plenty of accounts that don't have the check marks that could or could not be bots. But most of the time when you're going on there for news, and there's a lot of talk about misinformation and disinformation and this and that, you're going to the accounts that are verified, because anybody could make some random account that's not verified, go on there and post something, and nobody's really going to pay attention to it. But when you have people that are supposedly this and that, you're looking for that blue check mark on there. And so if they're having to pay for it, if you're going to have a bot farm out there with thousands of bots trying to push stuff, and you're having to pay $8 a month for that, hey, they'll take the money.
Well, do you have a Twitter account?
I do not.
A civilian personal? I don't either. Man, $8 is not that big of a deal, but I spent some time in Africa and Uganda. That's the average weekly wage is $8 a week. They ain't gonna spend 25% of their monthly take home on having a blue checkmark Twitter thing, And there's a lot of parts of the world that $8 a month, that's not worth them participating.
Yeah, but like I said, and I have no idea what's actually going to happen with this, but you can still use Twitter and post on Twitter without having the blue check mark. So those people can still use the platform, and Twitter can still get advertising dollars because the ads are reaching people. But it's, like I said, I don't think it's going to be that big of a deal.
If they only allowed payment in the form of Doge, ETH, Bitcoin, Ripple, I don't know, whatever else is out there, do you think that is also going to impact the crypto community at all?
I think so. I mean, we want mass adoption of cryptocurrency. We want cryptocurrency as investors, people that hold crypto. What we want is for cryptocurrencies to leach in to every aspect of our lives. We want blockchain technology specifically. We want that security and that technology used on these blockchains into every aspect of our lives, because we think it's more secure, it's decentralized in most cases, and it brings us return on investment. So if we're seeing these cryptocurrencies forced onto Twitter as a mode of payment to verify yourselves, I'm all for it.
Well, he's saying that he wants to turn Twitter into a super app. So you're not going to need your apps for Lyft or for Uber or anything else. It's all going to be able to be done through Twitter. So now, if that's the case, and let's say he only accepts Doge as payment for your $8 a month, but you can also use Doge as your payment for Uber and Lyft and the beer delivery service where they just drop beer off at your house, or however else that they're trying to grow Twitter into this super app. They're only using Doge. I got to tell you, that sounded pretty good as far as a future increase in price.
Do you think that they will only allow the cryptocurrency, or it'll be an option?
I don't know.
I mean, can you think of anywhere else that's said you can only pay in cryptocurrency?
No, but the more often I go into the stores, the more often I'm seeing you can only use your credit card or debit card and you can't use cash.
That's true, but most of that's because they have a shortage of change.
I don't buy that.
I mean, you don't have to buy it, but if that's the reasoning behind it.
If that's the false narrative behind it, that's one thing. But there are other things where you can use crypto.
Maybe they just don't want to get robbed with the cash in the register. I mean,
nobody's going to walk into Walmart and rob Walmart from the cash in the register.
Hey, I'm just saying it could happen.
They only got 5 people working in the whole front of the store nowadays anyway. But I mean, you can use crypto for stuff on Craigslist if people will take it, and then you can also use it on gambling sites. Bovada takes Bitcoin. So I mean, there's other elements there. But
yeah, and I say this only because I don't think it'll be limited to just cryptocurrencies, especially limited to just specific cryptocurrencies, because at the end of the day, it's a business and they want as many people on the platform as possible. And there's going to be people that just don't want to be in cryptocurrency because they don't know about it. Maybe they're kind of weary on it. They've heard some false narrative about crypto. Like they're going to allow you to use your regular fiat money too. I'd bet on that.
Okay, last bit of news that I guess I can talk a little bit about Ripple too. It looks like the SEC case there is kind of falling apart, and now Coinbase is wanting to introduce some evidence as well, and kind of pisses me off with Coinbase. I mean, they're waiting to see who is going to win before they're wanting to present any information. Kind of torques me.
Well, didn't the SEC start coming after them?
I don't think they really came after them, but I don't think that that's the case. I think that Coinbase is scared of the SEC, especially once they went public, then they kind of got to cower down to the SEC in that standpoint. But I don't think it was a retaliatory thing where we're like, oh, we're going to get back at the SEC because you said you were going to go after me. I think it was more like, well, it looks like Ripple's going to win. Let's help make sure that they win and go from there. I don't think it was
I don't know. That seems like a wrong read, man, because what would Coinbase have to gain by not siding with Ripple if they had evidence and they knew about it the whole time? Because at the end of the day, if Ripple wins, right, and you get this whole case freed up, and now there's a little bit more like freedom, and we're not saying these are securities, so then there's going to be more people and corporations that are willing to get involved. That leads to more volume of trading, and more volume is good for Coinbase. It seems like naturally they should be backing them the whole time.
They should have, but they didn't. They were the first ones to delist them from the U.S.
But I don't think they're doing it out of like waiting to see what side's going to win and then backing the winning horse. I don't think they ever would have backed the SEC. I think
they most certainly would have.
I don't think they would.
Because
it does them no good.
It does do them good. They've got 100+ cryptos on there that could be declared a security by the SEC at any point.
Yeah, so if the SEC wins, then that sets a precedent that leads to all these other ones being labeled as securities, and that only hurts Coinbase.
Unless Coinbase comes to the SEC after the SEC wins and goes, hey, I've got this evidence to show that what you did with Ripple was wrong, unless you let this other stuff slide.
I have a hard time believing they'd have the power to do that. The SEC does what the SEC wants. But I don't know. I feel like the whole suit should have been finished a long time ago. I'm glad it's getting some sort of movement in it, but Dang. How high do you think Ripple's going to go when they win?
Whoa, boy. I think day one, it's 10x. You'll see them back at $4 immediately.
10x?
Day one.
Wow. I don't believe that, only because I think there's going to be a lot of people holding on to it right now, waiting for the suit to be finished, that will take their profits at some point. I don't think they're going to wait for 10x.
Man, Ripple Army is hardcore believers. Hardcore.
Yeah, but there's people like you and I that hold them. Are you a Ripple Army person?
I mean, I don't think that I would sell at $4 at this point. I've been holding it for 4 years.
Would you not scale out and start taking profit
No.
at $1, $2?
Nah.
I would.
No. I'm waiting.
Whatever I have, when I see it double, I'm scaling out.
I think it's going to go higher.
And that's why I scale out and not go completely out.
I'll look for it more along the lines of $8-10 range.
We'll have to revisit this discussion when the case comes closer to a close.
Yeah, in 5 years.
Yeah.
Lastly, Matic news. So JP Morgan executed their first live trade on blockchain this week using Matic and Aave. They moved
10,000 units of something.
10,000 units of something, yes. But they used Aave and Matic. Does that encourage you to get into either or?
Well, I'm already
both?
in Matic, so I like my position.
Well, I mean, they're up. I mean, I think they're up about 10%. They're around 95 cents right now. They were 75, 80 cents last week.
I thought that it had pulled back a little bit. I thought last I saw it was at like 88, 89.
Better check it again.
Hey, I'll be happy if it's up. Like I said, I'm holding.
I think it's going to continue to go up. That's one that I would like to continue to get in. If I can get any more under 90 cents, I'm definitely going to reload into it.
Oh, you're right. 95.
95 and still alive.
Hit 98 earlier.
God, I didn't see that. Now, weren't you looking, I don't remember, a couple weeks ago you were looking at Matic around that dollar region as a shorting potential. Would you still look at shorting, given the news right now of shorting it at 95, 98 cents?
If we see it break 102, and there's no big news helping support that recently. I mean, that news came out, but how long ago did you hear that news?
That came out, I think that came out yesterday. So it's
okay. So you get us a few days removed from that news. Let's say this weekend or Monday morning, and we top 102. I'll short with no new news.
I'll go the opposite. I'll long it.
Oh, okay.
Because I think it'll probably rip up to the next support level, maybe around 115, 117.
You could kind of make a case here. Let's do a brief history here.
Okay.
At one point in time, Matic was almost $3.
Mm-hmm.
$2.92. Falls down to below $2, and then back up to $2.44, and then falls down to $1.30, and then to $2.08, and then down to $1.24, and that $1.24 seemed to be its support. It had some ups and downs, and then over the course of what seems to be 30 days, slowly but surely fell from, it went from 124 up to about 174, and then from 174 down to a little valley here at 50 cents. Flatlined, went down to 30 cents, back up to its dollar resistance, and then here we are today. So if you really wanted to put a finger on the next support, now resistance, you're looking at like $1.24.
Breaking news, Craig.
Ooh, I like the breaking news.
I just dropped $200 on Matic at 94.85.
Okay,
Mic drop.
that ain't no mic drop. It's $200.
Then I'll make it 2,000.
Do it. Do it.
I got to wait for it to get up to the support levels. Oh my gosh. All right, Craig. Good show. Good show. Do you have anything that you want to put out? Do you have any calls for the week?
Just the sushi short that I'm in, and then potentially the Matic short.
Ouch. After the news we just talked about, now you're talking about short and Matic?
3 minutes ago, I just said that if it went to 102 with no new news, I'm shorting it.
Oh my gosh.
And you said you would long it.
I'm longing it.
So that's Alan's call. Long it.
I'll long it after. If it breaks 102 and comes back and retests that, it's going to the roof. I can't see it breaking back through there. There's too much good news on it.
We'll see.
Weird
things happen.
All right. Good show. This is Crypto BS. I'm Al.
And I'm Craig.
Signing off.